What if you were a monster? For this question, we all picked a different type of monster to be. Doing the classic ones, zombie, vampire, werewolf. And just kind of figuring out what we do from there. So, I'm in line with you, Ben. I think that, so my monster was a vampire. So I'm a vampire. Count... I'll get there.
Schlockula.
Count get there.
Count touch this.
Count touch this. That's amazing.
Speaking of kinky sex stuff, anyway.
So I agree with Ben in that the main goal is to say, to hide the fact that you are, in my case, a vampire. Because it's true that if people find out you're a vampire, your life's gonna suck. Like, people are not accepting of even other people. So never mind vampires. So the first thing, like Chris was saying, is the craving is the big thing about being a vampire. Craving the blood.
And you actually need the blood, right? To survive?
Yeah, so I do need blood to survive. So I can't go fucking cutting off my arms and face. And so I was like, all right, so let me find out what some of the alternatives are for blood, because like I figured, yeah, you can get like, like big juicy steaks and meats or whatever. But I feel like at a certain point, like once you get to know people like better, like it starts to get like a little bit suspicious, Like there's a lot of giveaways for vampires, so you have to really watch. Like there's the, obviously the sucking blood thing, the turning into a bat thing, the not coming up in mirrors thing, the, keeping weird hours type thing. A lot of stuff that can get you found out. And if you're just kind of like going about your regular life and just, biting into steaks, I don't think it's going to be enough. And so what you can actually use, and has been used in admittedly more emergency situations, but coconut milk is an acceptable blood transfusion material.
Wait, what?
So coconut milk, mostly water, and your blood is made up of water, and then like the main minerals are potassium and calcium, which coconut milk has both of. Not in quite the right ratio, so it's not super good for you. I'm not sure if you're going to end up being sickly, but I think you're an immortal vampire, so you get over it. It's also sterile because it just is grown inside the coconut. So I was reading a whole article about how this guy, out in the tropics, had some horrible disease, and he needed blood transfusions. And the hospital ran out of blood transfusions, and because they were so far away from, the mainland, that they wouldn't get one for a few days. And they kept him alive for 3 days by giving him coconut milk transfusions.
Wow.
So we're going to be a tropical vampire.
Well, that sort of leads into my follow-up question with the tropical vampire idea. How are you going to deal with the sun?
With the sun?
Yeah, the sun is a problem.
So here's the thing. The sun problem is easier in the tropics because the sunrise and the sunset are always the same.
Oh, yeah, it's predictable.
That's true. Yeah.
So you actually, I think you're better off as far as your alibi goes, because like if you are in the north, in the summer, you got your longer, excuse me, you got your shorter days in the winter and longer days in the summer. But like your routine, like you can't convince people you're a human being with like a 7-hour night routine.
Right.
So the 12 and 12 I think is good. So that's the one great part about being the tropics. Really, with this whole answer for me, just the tropics everything works out for being a vampire. The thing I was looking at that I spent most of my time on, admittedly, was you need a vampire castle, because otherwise, what the fuck are you doing?
That's true. And
what's cool in a lot of the Caribbean islands is that obviously these were, part of the, what do they call the days where Britain and Spain and everyone took over a whole bunch of islands?
Colonies?
Colonization, yeah. Part of colonization, colonies type thing. So all these islands have like forts built on them, which I think is a perfectly acceptable substitute for a vampire castle.
Well, that's reasonable.
There are tropical castles?
There are tropical castles.
Yeah, lots of them.
Tropicastles, if you will.
It's funny too, because they have like the ports that come in, and the big thing over in those islands is like whenever they have the bays that go into the island, they have like those boat chains that go across, where it's like, if a boat comes over, the chain gets pulled taut and that shreds the bottom of the boat. And you're on a boat when they tell you this cool fact and driving into the bay, and like you're like, are you sure that they don't use this thing anymore before we go any further? But yeah, so I was looking at a bunch of different forts, and the one that struck out to me, just because of the architecture, and it was one of the bigger ones, and it was on a nice big hill and isolated, was the Citadelle La Ferrière on Haiti. Seems like a great choice. You know, it's got 110,000 square feet of space for me. It's got royal quarters. It includes dungeons already built in. You don't even have to add that yourself as a vampire. And I think my favorite part, it's got 365 cannons in case people do find out you're a vampire. You need to defend yourself.
You can use them one by one.
Look, I don't know. Maybe you set up some, like, it's your castle. You could set up, like, some fancy rope burning contraption that shoots, like, a bunch of pulleys and ropes or something. I think another good thing is, like, when these big stone forts, not a lot of mirrors around. And not, like, and I think, like, just in general, in the tropics, there's less mirrors and reflective surfaces around. Like, even the ocean is crystal clear and doesn't reflect as much as, like, you know, our shitty ocean up here in the north. So I think, like, 1, there's not many mirrors around. 2, you got your coconuts. Like, no one's ever gonna question you when you're drinking coconut milk out of a coconut on a tropical island. You have a castle. There are over 20 species of bats.
I was just going to ask about bats, yeah.
Yeah, there's 20 species of bats to blend in with at nighttime. Really, the only nick that I found in this plan is that Caribbean cuisine, you know, jerk sauce and all that, has a lot of garlic. So
yeah.
I don't know how often you need to fake, like, eating a dinner, because I guess you don't often as a vampire, but, you know, avoiding the garlic's going to be tricky. But considering how many weaknesses vampires typically have, this ain't so bad. And I will say one particular nice thing about this Citadelle La Ferrière is that, you know, it's a tourist attraction, so you can kind of, like, your alibi can be like, I run this place. During the day, there's tourists. I can't do anything, so I hide away inside. I'm busy. I'm in my office. And then I just live here at night because it's convenient not to have to go home. So you don't even have to, like, own the castle. Like I'm not sure what your first steps in getting the castle to be yours is. Like,
yeah, you need a lot of money.
Yeah, so I don't think money is the way to go. So I think either you physically, forcefully take it over with your vampire powers.
And then kill that one guy so he can't tell anyone else, and then live a normal life?
Yeah, it's like you can do, like, the thing where you just, like, take over, which I guess you can maybe get found out by some historian down the line, like Nicolas Cage comes in and does a movie or something. But yeah, if you kind of just, like, work there and convince them to let you stay there, I think you're okay. You're in pretty good shape.
You have to get an internship and work your way up.
Yeah, work your way up while avoiding the sun. Be like, yeah, I want to show people around the fort, but I can't go outside in the fort. And they'll be like, you're fired. You're like, wait, no, please. I'll murder you. But yeah, it's like up on a big mountain. There's like it's like 7 miles away from, like, the nearest, you know, populated area. And there's actually people that have, like, half settled on the trail that sell coconut juice to the tourists. So I think the mental image I have is that, like, you run this place, you know, you keep the tourists coming in. And basically your shtick is that, like, every day you just try to find one tourist with, like, holding a coconut milk and, like, stealthily steal their coconut milk from them. And, like, that's the bad vampire thing you do.
Do you have to, like, grind off your fangs?
I don't think so. Like,
I think people are going to notice your fangs.
I mean, people have incisors, and I think they have to get very long before I'm like, that seems weird. You know?
Yeah, I guess so.
Sometimes people have long incisors. They're not vampires.
I mean, I guess you could just get them removed.
Just play hockey. There you go.
Oh, and one last note, just to tell you how perfect the islands are, is that, like, very few people actually, like, live on the islands, like, full time. Like, a lot of people are just, like, visiting vacationers, so it's gonna be longer before someone notices that you're living basically forever.
That's a good point too. And think of that.
Yeah, so usually what I do in these questions is, like, I start with I look for facts, find a premise, and then, like, overcome the challenges. But just in good Caribbean tradition, it was just very stress-free. Just everything worked out nicely.
Yeah, think of all these 3 monsters. You have the best life.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely better than yours. I didn't can myself in an armless hell. And I don't have to make people think I'm a fucking kinky-ass sex person. Unless I want them to, but that's my choice.
Right.
Yeah, it's your decision.
You do have dungeons.
Yeah, so I guess, well, that's just thematic. That's just part of being a vampire.
Sure. Keep telling yourself that.